Batra Daf Sadi Dalid. We're continuing from Sadi Rima Amud Bet on the bottom by the beginning of the Gemara. Tani Rav Katina. Rova Kitnit Lis'a. When it comes to buying wheat, the buyer automatically acquires and cannot complain if he receives a quarter kav of kitniut, and therefore, if a person receives wheat and there's some kitniot inside, he has to keep it. He can't return it. The reason being because they're grown together, and this is the source actually that Ashkenazim don't have kitniut on Pesach. That's for Yom. The after fleet law, but the Gemara says, okay, 1 second. That means he has to accept kitniut, but he can't, but he can reject if there's soil in the delivery. A person who picks out pebbles out of the wheat when he's getting paid with wheat, and he starts picking up the dirt or the pebbles. He has to pay back the value of wheat, which means that let me fix that. If I go to your granary and you have wheat piled up and there's dirt and there's rocks and everything, and I start picking out the pebbles, I have to pay you that weight worth in wheat, because technically when you would have sold that 10 pounds of wheat with 20 ounces of soil and dirt and pebbles, it would have been accepted. So we see from here that pebbles and soil is generally good in a sale, and you cannot be rejected. The Gemara says, okay, kitnit roba. The Batra Daf teaching about kitniot is not excluding soil, but rather it means that the buyer has to accept at least a quarter kav. But regarding soil, he has to accept if it's less than a quarter kav. But regarding soil, you don't accept the quarter. But someone sells fruits to his friend. If it was the sale was weed, he has to accept a quarter kav of kitniot per se'ah. Se'arim was barley, he has to accept upon himself a quarter kav of straw per se'ah. Adashim, if it was lentils, he has to accept himself a quarter kav of soil. Seemingly that the quarter kav by lentils of dirt would also apply to other ones as well. So we see that you can and required to accept a quarter kav of dirt. Gemara says no. Shani alashim lentils are different because when they are harvested, they're uprooted. And being that's the case, if you're uprooting it, then you have more dirt and you have to accept it. Gemara says, 1 second. You're telling me now that the lentils are uprooted and that's why you have to accept it. But it sounds like by wheat or barley, which you're not uprooted, you should not have to accept at least a quarter kav. Let's prove from the Batra. You don't have to accept soil by wheat and barley. The Gemara says, no, not approved. Really, even by wheat and barley, you do accept soil and pebbles, etc. But the halacha for lentils was necessary to teach you as following. You might think by maybe since lentils are uprooted, maybe they have to accept even more than a quarter kav of dirt. Where it says, Kamashman, therefore, the halacha is no, a quarter kav, yes, under the quarter kav is more than a quarter kav is not required to accept, you get a refund. Let's say the buyer comes to start sifting the grain that he's buying, and he sees that there's more soil than there's supposed to be. He has to sift all the grain, he returns all the soil to the seller, which means, yes, let's say there's 10 ounces I would have had to accept, but because there's 25 ounces that I found was way over the limit, I get to return even the 10 that I would have had to accept. So let's say the $100 worth of soil that I would have been paying for instead of wheat, but since there's $250 worth of weight of soil, then I could even return even that $100. Full refund. The Gemara says, some people say that the halacha is because of law, some people say it's penalty, meaning, people say it was the halacha mandated because when a guy's paying money for grain, he's trying to get good quality, and therefore he doesn't have to accept anything. Regarding when he's starting sifting, he won't care to sift if it's a quarter cup of dirt or less. And if we accept it, but a person will start sifting grain to remove the soil. If it's more than a quarter cup, that's why the Kevin Terach, and once he bothered to sift it over here because he saw it was more than a quarter. He sifts it all. He doesn't have to accept any an ounce. Okay, but I'm really like some people explain it as a penalty. Because really a quarter cup of dirt in the mixture is normal. But more than that, not common. The Arif. and therefore we must be suspect that the guy who sold it must have purposely thrown in extra dirt. They came to Arab and since mixed it, therefore Hamim can ask them, they put a penalty, and therefore you don't have to pay it back at all. You don't have to pay back, you don't have to pay for any soil at all. Okay. The question is, any type of seed that contains a quarter cup of a different seed mixed within it, you first have to reduce it to less than a quarter cup before planting. He said 1 second. We see from here that seemingly the quarter cup of having a different seed is the same halacha as having like regarding a quarter cup of sale, like dirt. But we see over here that you do have to reduce it. But we just said that you don't have to reduce it if it's not above average. The one says no. No, same halacha, quarter kav is equal to a quarter kav. Both of them quarter kav have to accept, whether it's a different seed and or it is dirt. If that's the case, then how come in this case you have to reduce it? The one says simply because of kilaim is a right of intermixing plantings. If that's the case, for the next part of the Mishnah says, Yavor, person should remove all foreign separate seeds. If you wanted to explain to me that more than a quarter kav is like in mixed seed is like more than a quarter kav of dirt, seemingly comparably. The is as follows. We don't say that in a case of permitted case of mixed seeds, it's mutar. We penalize them even in the case of heter. Riosa Savar Kansin, Riosa says no, we do penalize them, we do make them remove it. And if you want to say that they're exactly equal, that the quarter kav is the limit, you only have to reduce it only because Hamim want you to. So how come the Riosa says the planter has to remove everything? That sounds like it's doraita, which means every single last seed, even if it's under a quarter kav, obviously. The Gemara says, the reason has different. Rabbi has different reasoning over there. Because a person who's knowingly planting a mixture, looks like he's trying to, on purpose, intentionally trying to make kilayim. Tashma is bringing a second proof. Two people left money with one person. One guy left $100, one guy left $200. Each guy says, no, that's my $200, and I'm trying to collect it. The watcher gives each guy $100 because that's the common denominator. They each give at least $100. And the last $100 remains to the Navi till he tells us who belongs to. So we see from here that the person who's obviously lying is allowed to get that $100 that he deposited because it's a machloket. There's another opinion holds that you leave all the money for the Navi to purposely penalize the opinion the guy who's trying to steal the extra $100. But we see over here, according to this opinion, that in the case of the money, you give back the $100, so everybody's made at least one guy's full and one guy's half, and the $100 that's in doubt, that's you put away. So how come we don't say the same thing by the seeds that you have to remove everything? The Gemara says, you can't compare those cases. Not talking about the case of the Mishnah, but everybody agrees, everybody knows that each guy is owed at least $100. But in the case regarding the grain, who said the guy didn't mix it at all? We don't know if the guy did it on purpose. And therefore the seller is penalized. Tashma Mesefa. Bring another proof. Amar says, if the case is that each guy receives $100, this is what we're saying earlier. If we say, okay, you each get $100 and the last $100 we'll worry about later, the problem is you're not discouraging people from lying. Ella, rather, he holds all the money has to be left aside until the Navi comes, and therefore we see that we penalize people to the fullest. Unlike the other opinion, this is like according to Huna, who holds that you do penalize, and the other opinion holds that no, you do the minimum. The rest is not a question. Hatam in the case of the Mishnah, over there is definitely someone trying to lie. Obviously, one guy did not give $200. Hacha in the case of Huna, maybe the guy didn't mix it on purpose. Tashma, next proof. Shtar sheyesh bo rebit. A document that has rebit in it. Continue to be penalize him. The go below the kingdom below that Rabbi Meir holds that Rabbi Meir holds since he's trying to have collect interest. Not only does he not get the interest, he doesn't even get the original loan. Crazy. So we see Rabbi Meir holds like Rav Huna that you penalize all the way from beginning to end, even the principal. The Gemara says Hachiyash they can't compare. The difference by the loan is because at the time of the writing of the document, the interest starts ticking immediately. And therefore he's already over. Over here, regarding the sale, who says that the guy purposely mixed the grain, and therefore maybe he shouldn't be chayav. The second case, Hamim say go better get in a goveta rebate. The machloket in that case of the interest is that you do collect the Hamim hold that you do collect the principal, but you can't collect the interest. So we see that you don't go all the way like Rav Huna, and you don't penalize it for everything. Question against Rav Huna. That's different. Okay, so there is, you could say, definitely have to say that the principal is heter. I lent him $1,000. You can't argue with that. But the interest, I'll penalize you on. In the case of the Ravuna, who says the guy didn't deliberately mix it in, and therefore maybe Hachamim would agree with Ravuna. Last one, Tashma. Detani Ravin Bar Rahman, Lo Atamotar Bilvad Mahzir. When a guy returns, a buyer returns to the seller, if he bought land, if he received extra land that he received, you don't only return the excess land beyond the quarter kav per sa'ah, he has to return all the quarter kavs as well. And in the case of a bet core, which is a massive size of property, the buyer gets to keep up to 30 quarter kavs, which is 1 quarter kav per sa'ah ratio. But if let's say there was 31, he has to return all 31 and not keep any. So, Alma, we see from there, when a person has to return a portion of a purchase, he has to return it all. Like Rav Huna, all the way, 100%, not 75%. You can't compare it. In the case of Mishnah, the guy should not be receiving any land because the seller told him, I'm selling you a bet core of land, whether it's less or whether it's more, meaning it might be more. If it's more than a quarter kav, however, or less, then it's insignificant and therefore it's automatically included. Yet the but if it's more than that, hashiv is significant, and he obviously did not try to do that. Since it's significant, even if the guy said, I'm selling you a bet core, and maybe a little bigger, I meant a little bigger. But if it's substantially bigger, it's not included. And that's why in that case, it's not forgiven. But maybe in the case of the grain, Rav Huna agrees that you forgive the case of the grain because it is not significant enough.